All right, so Monday, and I hope everybody had a good, happy Easter weekend. We are still moving through these videos, trying to figure this out. Someone said play the Gretsch, so I picked that up to kind of show you a couple of sounds on that. And man, there's a lot to get to, and I'm still trying to figure out my audio today. So I'm gonna try a new microphone and a new. Yes, it's working. I'm gonna try a new microphone and see if I can make the audio sound better. I noticed on the video when I was playing, the amp would be really loud, and then when I would talk, I couldn't hear it. So still figuring this out because I want to get these ideas across to you guys as best as I can, so that it can help. I'm really working on this, trying to make this better for you guys. For those of you watching, I appreciate it. I'm running through a matchless head today into my Pro Tools rig, and I even put up a few lights around here, trying to make it look a little better. And my kids helped me decorate in here the other day for a thing we did for our church, and I thought, oh, that's kind of fun, and Christmas lights. They thought that was fun, so I think they actually tore them down. I had to put them back up, but here we are. So the Gretsch, man, I love this guitar. It's just a made in Japan. I think I got this in 2007, maybe 2008. It's called a country classic, and a buddy of mine, Taylor Johnson, had a country classic junior, and he kept telling me, he's like, man, you got to get one of these guitars. I love this. The pickups are so good and sounds great. And I finally found one, but it was the big version. It was on sale. I was living in Austin, Texas at the time, and found the guitar. I was like, man, I actually found it at a music store. And then I found the same guitar on Craigslist the same day for less. And I was like, this is weird. Called the guy on Craigslist, and he was like, oh, it's on consignment at the music store, which is what made the whole thing make sense. It was the same guitar. And he goes, I'll just go grab it from the music store and I'll sell it to you directly. So I actually got a pretty good price on it. And these guitars are not that expensive, but man, they sound great. These has got the Filtertron pickups in it. I think this might have a specific kind of Filtertron they were making then. Not sure. If you know, you can put that in the comments below, because I sure don't know. I've only had a couple of Gretsches, and this one always sounds great. I use it to record a lot, and I think by now, maybe, we're 12, 13 years down the road. I think they've probably made these where they can lock them in tuning-wise a little better. This one's a little funny sometimes, but it sounds so good. And so I think one of you guys had asked, and I responded to you about maybe playing the Gretsch and the Les Paul. You were trying to decide which one to buy, and so like I said, I'm a little more familiar with the Les Paul because I toured with it for so long. But the Gretsch has been a great guitar. I toured with it a lot and played with it a lot in the studio. So I was going to show you some of those sounds and maybe talk about a couple other things. One other thing would be a lot of you guys have asked about tone and tone shaping. So I was going to give you a few thoughts on how I approach that stuff. And I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to make that sound good in the video. So this is a journey, but appreciate you being along for the ride while I figure this out. But kind of my basic approach to that stuff, and the same with the Gretsch, and I'll show you, is I like to start with the amp pretty clean. I don't like it to be just cranked because I like to use pedals to manipulate my sounds. So if I'm playing in a live concert or something, and I can't control what I'm doing, I can't handle that. I don't feel like I can. I like to be able to control every little nuance about the top end of the guitar and how much gain there is, and I like to clean up if I want to. And so just real quickly, talking about gain, so I would set the amp up. You can hear my, this is just straight into the matchless on the bridge pickup here. Nice and clear, kind of, it's a brighter guitar and it's a brighter amp, so it might be a little bright. So it'd be like if I wanted to pick, it'd be nice and clean. You could play nice and clean, but if you wanted to dig in, like as you dig in, it does break up a little bit, but you know, I kind of like to be able to keep it clean because I like to hit my amp with some dirt pedals, mostly overdrive. I don't use fuzz typically or distortion, talking about gain staging. I like boost pedals and overdrive pedals. That's kind of my bread and butter for touring. In the studio, sure, I mean, anything is fair game. Fuzz, or maybe we crank the amp. Like in the studio, man, I might crank the amp up to get the right overdrive sound. But live, you know, you can't be running back and forth to your amp all the time. And also, I like the way that a gain pedal EQs the tone with the mid frequencies to cut through the mix, because we got a lot of drums and cymbals and vocals and keys and synths, and you know, a gain pedal helps me kind of like make my sound, it sounds counterintuitive, but almost smaller. It rolls off a little bit of the low end and helps that push that mid frequency through. And man, if you're not familiar with those terms, it doesn't matter. You don't have to figure that out right now. As you play, your ear will develop and you'll kind of learn some of that stuff. But for now, all you really need to know is amp kind of clean, and then I use an overdrive pedal, like a tube screamer kind of circuit would be a good example of where to start. So, and then I use a RC booster as my boost pedal, and then I sometimes will stack the booster pedal with the tube screamer, or the boost pedal with the full drive, or I've got the King of Tone on here, which is kind of lives in that same sonic territory a little bit, although harder to come by, so I'll try not to always use that, but I do love it. Like I said, I like to start with the amp on like 2, you know, 1 or 2, and I just start inching it up. And you know, the numbers are hard because on Fender the number makes sense, but on like a Matchless there is no number, or AC30, which is, you know, typically I don't tour with this Fender amp, I tour with an AC30 and a Matchless. So I'll start with it really clean, and I'll just kind of start rolling the volume up, and then when the amp, I always kind of think of it as like when it comes alive, like, oh, there's all the bottom end and the nice bass frequencies, and when the amp kind of like comes to life, that's when I kind of like set it there. Because if you go too far past that, it might sound good just plugged in, but then you might lose some of your control over your like delays and overdrives. That's sort of a long explanation, but that's how I approach it. So yeah, so like I said, this would be just your basic clean sound with the Gretsch. Like I said, not that clean. So if I go light, right? Or if I dig in. And that works great. You know, you put a little reverb and delay on that, and you can sound, you know, nice and big with hardly any pedals. That's just delay and reverb. You know? So, it doesn't have to be too tricky. You just kind of set the amp. If you get a good tube amp and just kind of like turn it up where it sounds good, I kind of leave it alone. I don't do a lot of extreme EQing. The one thing I keep an eye on is the top end. I like to make sure that that's not too spiky or too sharp. So yeah, I'll quickly run through some sounds here. So that's straight into the amp. Here would be like a tube screamer. This is an 808. Basic tube screamer sound. This would be my full drive. Similar, but I like to use them in a different way. This is the King of Tone. And that was the red side. And then here's the yellow side, which is a little bit more like a boost. A little cleaner. And then here's the RC booster, which I use for like boost stuff. It's kind of just touch of gain, but mainly like a level thing. All right, so there's some kind of basic gain ideas. Maybe we'll do like a full gain episode or something when I can figure out how to really make it sound the right way through the camera and through my recording rig. But for now, that's kind of my basic approach with dialing up something. And here's the Gretsch. I was going to grab the Les Paul too and do some of the same sounds, but as I was playing these E shapes, it it made me think about how I play this E chord. And I was going to show you this one little thing I picked up from an Eric Johnson Hot Licks video a long time ago. I was obsessed with that video. I watched it a ton. But basically, he's using... See how I'm playing? It looks like an E minor, but there's no... You know, in a true E minor would be... You know, you get that dark sound. But I'm playing it by muting the G string with the meat of this ring finger. So I'm playing this note, I'm fretting this note here, and I'm muting that one. So when you scrape it, it just sounds like a nice clean chord, and you're adding in, these are all like octaves of the same note. So it's E, B, E, mute, B, E. So it's just E, B, E, B, E, B. You know, it's just E's and B's. So when you play the whole thing, it's just nice and clean. Right? And you can even slide that up and down. Okay? When I was playing these, I was muting with this thumb to make sure that I'm not getting an E on top, but it's kind of like an inverted chord. So something to play with. Play around with that and see if that sounds cool. I'll do another E shapes episode soon. I've got a lot of chords that I can show you just sitting in this one little spot here that I use all the time. They're so great. Really, really a good life hack for playing guitar. So that's kind of some Gretsch tones. I can show you real quick kind of like some of the ways I would use it. I like the Gretsch for its kind of bright, twangy sounds. And I'll use it with like maybe some verb and delay. You know? So there's just some thoughts in the Gretsch territory. Has some nice twangy tones, and it really sounds good for like the high parts. You know, you might want to play something kind of, I'll add a little gain and some octave for like a, you know, kind of like a lead tone. So like if you're playing like, let's see, say we're staying in E, let's play an E. Messed up in there because I don't know what I'm doing, but basically, you know, you can get some nice like, you know, all that big lead stuff sounds good, and it really likes the stack too. Kind of get that high. Analog. It's fun. I love it. All right, so there's some good Gretsch-y kind of lead tones and things. Some chords. You know, it's just got a good all-around thing. It's got the single, you know, it's a single coil style pickup, so you can get this nice clear thing for big rhythm chords, but it's also nice and clear when you want to come up and play, you know, something light and soft. You know, you could play this stuff all day. I love the neck pickup on this.